You open the book, you read the first paragraph. You get to the end of it and realize you have absolutely no idea what you just read. So you go back, you read it again, still nothing. You read it a third time, and somewhere in the middle your brain quietly slips out the back door and starts thinking about something completely unrelated to anything on the page. 20 minutes later, you've covered half a page and retained approximately 0% of it. Sound familiar? Here's what you've probably told yourself. I'm just a slow reader, or I'm not a book person, or my attention span is broken. Or maybe you've decided reading just isn't for you, that some people are readers and some people aren't, and you landed in the wrong category. None of that is true, not even slightly. You are not a slow reader, you are an untrained reader. And there is a massive difference between those two things. Every single habit that is making you slow, distracted, and forgetful when you read is a learned behavior. You picked it up as a child when you were first taught to decode written language. It served you then. It is destroying you now. And because nobody ever came back and upgraded your reading system as your brain matured, you've been running kindergarten software on an adult brain for your entire life. The good news is that learned behaviors can be unlearned and replaced with something dramatically better, faster, sharper, and more effective in every measurable way. By the end of this video, you'll have the complete 3x reading protocol, 5 science-backed techniques that will triple your reading speed without sacrificing a single % of comprehension. We're also going to go deep on the neuroscience of why these techniques work, because understanding the why is what makes the how actually stick. Let's get into it. The truth about reading speed, nobody tells you. Most people assume that reading faster means moving your eyes across the page more quickly. Like the limiting factor is physical, the speed of your eyeballs. So speed reading courses tell you to scan faster, use your peripheral vision more aggressively and skim strategically. And some of that is useful, but it misses the deeper truth. Reading speed is not primarily limited by your eyes. It is limited by your brain's processing habits, specifically 3 deeply ingrained habits that were wired in during childhood and have never been examined or updated since. These habits act like invisible governors on your reading engine. They cap your speed, drain your comprehension, and make the whole experience feel harder than it needs to be. Until you identify and reprogram these 3 habits, no amount of eye movement tricks will make a lasting difference. So let's start there. The 3 invisible habits destroying your reading. Habit 1, subvocalization. Right now, as you watch this video, there is a voice in your head, an internal narrator. It reads along with everything, every subtitle, every caption, every text message, every line in a book. You might not have been consciously aware of it until this moment, but once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. This internal narrator is called subvocalization, and it is the single biggest limiter of reading speed in the human brain. Here is the problem. Subvocalization ties your reading speed to your speaking speed. The average person speaks at roughly 150 to 200 words per minute, which means as long as your brain is internally pronouncing every word you read, you are physically incapable of reading faster than you can speak. Your eyes could move faster. Your brain could process faster, but the narrator won't allow it. Here's what makes this particularly frustrating. Subvocalization is not necessary for comprehension. Your brain is entirely capable of extracting meaning from written text without internally pronouncing every word. Proficient speed readers process text visually, as units of meaning, rather than phonetically. They don't hear the words, they see the meaning. The transition from phonetic reading to visual reading is the single biggest upgrade available to any reader, and it is entirely learnable. Habit 2, regression. Regression is when your eyes move backward on the page to reread something you've already passed. It happens unconsciously. Your eyes finish a line and instead of smoothly moving to the next, they flick back to a word or phrase 2 lines up. Or you finish a paragraph and immediately reread the first sentence without any conscious decision to do so. Research in reading psychology shows that the average adult reader regresses on somewhere between 15 and 30% of all words they read. Let that number sink in. Nearly 1 in every 3 words you read twice. And here is the cruel irony. Most of these regressions are not triggered by genuine confusion. They are triggered by habit and low-grade anxiety. Your brain doesn't trust itself to have captured the meaning on the first pass, so it reflexively goes back. But these backward jumps actually break comprehension more than they protect it, because comprehension is built on forward momentum. Meaning accumulates across sentences and paragraphs. Every time your eyes jump backward, you interrupt that accumulation and have to rebuild it from the regression point forward. Regression doubles your reading time while actively degrading the quality of your comprehension. It is the worst of both worlds. Habit 3. Narrow eye span. When you learn to read as a small child, you read one word at a time. Your eyes would land on a word, process it, move to the next word, land, process, move. This made complete sense for a child encountering written language for the first time. Every word was a new challenge requiring full attention. But your visual system is capable of something far more powerful. In a single eye fixation, a single moment where your eyes are still, you can take in a span of 3 to 5 words simultaneously. Your peripheral vision covers far more of the page than you're currently using. The problem is that nobody ever told you to upgrade from one-word fixations to multi-word fixations. So you're still reading the way you did in first grade, one word at a time, using a fraction of your visual processing capacity. Expanding your eye span from 1 word per fixation to 3 to 5 words per fixation can double your reading speed without changing anything else. It is one of the highest leverage changes available to any reader. These 3 habits, subvocalization, regression, and narrow eye span, make the invisible ceiling on your reading performance. And the 3X reading protocol is specifically designed to dismantle all 3 while simultaneously boosting comprehension. Here's how. The 3X reading protocol. Technique 1. The pointer method. Eliminate subvocalization and regression simultaneously. Take your finger, a pen, or a stylus and place it under the first line of text. As you read, move it smoothly and continuously from left to right beneath each line, then drop to the next line, move right to left, or right to the start of the next line, depending on your preference, and continue. Move the pointer at a pace that is slightly faster than your comfortable reading speed. Uncomfortable, but not unmanageable. Just beyond your edge. This technique attacks 2 problems at once. First, the continuous forward movement of the pointer makes regression physically awkward. Your eyes want to follow the pointer. The pointer doesn't go backward, so your eyes don't go backward. Regression drops dramatically within the first few minutes of using this method. Second, the slightly elevated pace forces your brain to abandon subvocalization. Here is the mechanism. Your internal narrator has a speed limit. When the pointer moves faster than that limit, your brain faces a choice: keep up visually or fall behind. To keep up, it switches processing modes. Instead of sounding out words phonetically, it begins reading them as visual patterns of meaning. This is the switch from phonetic reading to visual reading, and once your brain experiences it, even briefly, it becomes easier to access again. Start your first session at a pace that feels about 20% faster than comfortable. Hold it for 5 minutes. Your brain will resist at first. It will feel like you're not comprehending anything. Push through the first 2 minutes. After that, something clicks. Comprehension restores itself at the new speed. This is your brain adapting in real time. Over the course of 1 week of daily 10-minute pointer practice sessions, the average person increases their reading speed by 40 to 60% without any loss of comprehension. That alone gets you halfway to 3x. Technique 2. The chunking drill technique. Expand your eye span. Open any book or article, and instead of starting your eyes at the first word of each line, practice landing them at the second or third word from the left margin. Let your peripheral vision absorb the first word or 2. Then jump to the center of the line. Then land near the end of the line, capturing the final words peripherally. You are training yourself to read each line in 2 or 3 fixations instead of 8. to 12. Each fixation captures a chunk, a group of 3 to 5 words that your brain processes as a single unit of meaning. Here is the neuroscience behind why this works so naturally. Your brain doesn't actually process words one at a time when it builds meaning. It processes phrases. The exhausted student is processed as one semantic unit, not 3 separate words. Finally understood the concept is processed as a unified idea. Your brain is already doing chunked meaning processing at the cognitive level. The chunking drill simply aligns your eye movement with what your brain is already doing underneath. Practice this drill on easy, familiar material first, a novel you've already read, a blog post on a topic you know well. When the content is familiar, your brain has spare processing capacity to focus on the eye movement skill itself. Once the chunking movement becomes automatic on easy material, transfer it to harder material. The skill will hold. 5 minutes of deliberate chunking drill per day for 2 weeks will produce a measurable and permanent widening of your functional eye span. Technique 3. The preview system. Build the map before you read the territory. Before reading any chapter, article, research paper, or section of a textbook, invest 60 to 90 seconds in a structured preview. Here is the exact sequence. Read the title and any subtitle. Read the first paragraph fully. Scan all headings and subheadings. Read the first sentence of each major section. Read the final paragraph or conclusion fully. Then begin reading. This sounds like it adds time. It saves enormous amounts of time. Here is why. Your brain is a prediction machine. It processes new information most efficiently when it can connect that information to an existing framework. When you preview first, you construct a mental scaffolding of the content before the details arrive. Your brain now knows the shape of what it is about to receive. It knows where the argument is going. It knows what the major sections cover. It knows how the conclusion lands. When you then read the full text, comprehension is dramatically faster because your brain isn't simultaneously building the framework and filling in the details. The framework exists. Details slot in rapidly and accurately. You also experience far fewer comprehension failures, those moments where you finish a paragraph and realize you didn't understand it, because the preview gives you enough context to interpret each section correctly as you read it. There is also a powerful focus benefit to previewing. When your brain knows where the text is going, it stays engaged with reading rather than drifting into distraction. Confusion is one of the primary triggers of mind wandering during reading. When the structure is clear, confusion drops and focus holds longer. Technique 4. The active recall pause. Transform reading into memory. Every time you finish a section, a page, or a natural break in the content, stop. Close the book or look away from the screen. Spend 20 to 30 seconds mentally replaying what you just read, not word for word, just the core ideas in your own words. What was the main point? What was the key fact? What was the argument? Then continue. This technique is called active recall, and it is the most well-researched learning intervention in cognitive psychology. Dozens of peer-reviewed studies confirm that retrieval practice, at the act of pulling information out of memory rather than passively receiving it, produces dramatically stronger long-term retention than rereading, highlighting, or note-taking during reading. Here is the mechanism. Every time you successfully retrieve a piece of information from memory, your brain strengthens the neural pathway associated with that information. The pathway becomes faster, more reliable, and more deeply integrated with related knowledge. Rereading the same information passively does not produce this strengthening effect. Your brain recognizes familiar information and processes it with minimal effort. Minimal effort means minimal encoding, which means minimal retention. Without active recall pauses, reading is like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You take in information at the top and it drains out through the hole just as fast. Active recall seals the hole. You will remember dramatically more from 30 minutes of read, pause, recall cycling than from 2 hours of straight passive reading. Every time. A practical implementation: read for 5 to 7 minutes, then pause for 30 seconds of free recall. Don't write anything unless you want to. Just think, replay, then continue. The pauses feel like they slow you down. They do not slow you down. They multiply the value of every minute you spend reading. Technique 5. The focus window. Eliminate internal interference before you begin. This technique happens before you open the book, and it might be the most underestimated of the 5. Set a 25-minute timer. Declare this window as a single task reading block. Nothing else exists for 25 minutes. No decisions, no messages, no competing priorities. Then, before you read a single word, spend 60 seconds doing a brain dump. Write down every open thought, task, worry, or reminder currently sitting in your working memory. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Here is why this matters so specifically for reading. Reading is one of the most working memory-intensive tasks the human brain performs. To comprehend text, your brain must simultaneously hold the meaning of the current sentence, the context of the previous sentences, the developing argument of the paragraph, and the broader theme of the chapter, all while processing new incoming words. This requires significant working memory capacity. If your working memory is already partially occupied by unrelated mental clutter, the email you need to send, the decision you haven't made, the conversation you're dreading, your available capacity for reading comprehension is reduced before you start. You will read the words. You will not retain the meaning, because there isn't enough working memory bandwidth left to do both at the same time. The brain dump closes your open loops. Your prefrontal cortex releases the mental items it's been holding in reserve once it sees them recorded externally. Working memory clears, and your full cognitive capacity is now available for the one task in front of you. Combine the focus window with a deliberate low-stimulation pre-reading period. No social media, no music with lyrics, no high-stimulation inputs for at least 15 minutes before sitting down. And the quality of your reading attention will be unrecognizable compared to what you've been doing. Advanced reading optimization, going beyond 3 times. Once you have the 5 core techniques running consistently, there are 3 additional upgrades that will push your reading performance even further. Upgrade 1. Read in your biological peak window. Your brain has a natural 90-minute ultradian rhythm cycling between higher and lower cognitive performance throughout the day. Most people have a primary peak window in the morning, roughly 60 to 90 minutes after waking, and a secondary peak in the late afternoon. Scheduling your most demanding reading in these windows and your lighter reading outside them is a free performance upgrade that requires 0 additional effort. Upgrade 2. Match reading environment to reading type. Dense technical material, textbooks, research papers, complex non-fiction, requires silent, distraction-free environments with no background noise. Your working memory is already near capacity processing the content. Any environmental noise competes directly for the same cognitive resources. Lighter reading, novels, familiar topics, review reading, can tolerate ambient background sound like coffee shop noise or instrumental music because the processing demands are lower and spare capacity exists to filter environmental input. Matching environment to reading type stops you from accidentally reading your hardest material in your worst conditions. Upgrade 3. Spaced reading sessions over massed reading sessions. Reading the same material in 3 20-minute sessions spread across 3 days produces dramatically better retention than one 60-minute session on a single day. This is the spacing effect, being one of the most robust findings in memory research. Your brain consolidates new information during sleep and rest periods between learning sessions. Distributed practice gives your brain multiple consolidation opportunities. Massed practice gives it one. For any material you genuinely need to retain, spread your reading across multiple sessions with gaps between them. Your 3X reading protocol cheat sheet. 1. Pointer method. Track with your finger continuously to eliminate regression and break subvocalization. 2. Chunking drill. Land eyes in the center of lines. Capture 3 to 5 words per fixation. 3. Preview system. Spend 60 to 90 seconds building the structural map before reading the full text. 4. Active recall pause. Every 5 to 7 minutes, look away and replay key ideas for 30 seconds. 5. Focus window. Brain dump all open loops before starting, then read in a single task 25-minute block. Bonus upgrades. Read in your peak biological window, match environment to reading type, and spread sessions across days for maximum retention. You were never a slow reader. You were a child using a child's reading system in an adult brain with adult demands. The system worked fine when the task was sounding out 3-letter words in a picture book. It was never designed for a chemistry textbook, a 300-page business book, or a 40-page research paper due tomorrow. Now you have the upgraded system. The one your brain was always capable of running. You just needed someone to hand you the installation file. Apply 2 of these techniques today, and you'll feel the difference in your first session. Apply all 5 consistently for 3 weeks, and reading will transform from a chore you avoid into a skill you are genuinely proud of. People around you will start asking how you get through so much material so fast, and you'll smile like someone who knows something they don't. Because now you do. Like this video, if your reading just got a serious upgrade, subscribe, because next week we are going deep on the science of why your brain quits before your body does, and the biological override switch that high performers use to keep going when everyone else stops.
That one is going to hit different.
Let's go.